mental reprogramming. We're not going to go really hardcore on mental reprogramming. This isn't about changing profoundly who you are, but it is about unlearning and learning something else. It is about catching yourself in situations because you're the main actor in a situation. This talk is not for those who think that the job of changing a situation should be somebody else's. It's for those people who say, well, it's my turn. Now it's my turn now to do something about this. And I've got to bring my best game. I don't want my own, natural tendencies to be in the way. I want to bring about my best self to that situation. That's what this mental reprogramming is. There's subtle ways, but I'm finding them so powerful that I use them pretty much in everything that I do. Like they're just so low-level, bare-bones key things that work so well that that I use them in everything. And a bunch of situations I use them in. Situations like, I've got too many things to do. I want this change to happen in my organization, in my workplace. We've got to change our processes. This is not ideal. I've had this idea. My supervisor won't, accept it. I'm in that kind of place. Or I'm in a meeting. We've got to do something to change the course of this meeting. It's not going the way we want that. So today we'll focus on 3 of those situations. The first one, Sarah is launching as a consultant. And today's the day. Today's the day. She's got a bit of a cushion. Her spouse is working, has a job, benefits and everything, so it's going to be all right. But basically it's all up to her. She's got a few clients lined up. But today she's sitting down, she's at home, she's not at the hub, and she wants to concentrate on a few things. But she's feeling a little overwhelmed. So this is a very specific situation. It's not a generic one. She is overwhelmed by her own thoughts and her own desires. Dan works at this company, and he can't get any work done. It's 10:30 already. He's thinking about all those things that the way we do things at this company we're going to have to change it because we're not being performant enough. And he knows it, and he has ideas about how to change it, but he's thinking, my boss is probably not going to accept my ideas. She's got her own ways. But it's gnawing at him. It's been gnawing at him for a week. So he's decided, I'm going to put some time to think this through and do something about it. Sylvie is in a meeting. She decided to start a partnership or suggest one with 3 other organizations. So she knows that 4 organizations on a single cause is a bit of a long shot, but but the cause is really important. It's of the moment. They can all participate in it. They all have something to gain from it. She called the meeting. They all said yes. They all came, but she's feeling the room, and it's not. There's a lot of things unsaid. It's not working out. It's basically on her. But across the room, out of these 3 other organizations, one of the representatives is a strong personality type, and she's like, she can feel that person is going to take over, and she's got to take over the situation. So those 3 situations are specific and small. These people are in a here moment. But they want to get to an over there that's better. Or the situation is going to get to a place they don't like all by itself, to an over there they don't like, but they'd like to steer it a bit so that it becomes better or becomes aligned with everybody's best interest and best intentions. The 2 techniques we're going to talk about today, one is called mental models. And the second one, and that one is about catching your thoughts in the moment. Mental models are about catching what is that's taken over you in the moment. Second technique is called have-done lists, which are a twist on to-do lists, but they serve the purpose of visualizing what over there looks like. Have-done lists are about visualizing. I won't go into detail about these techniques right now. We'll take the situations one by one, and we'll see. We'll build onto these ideas. First, you'll feel right at home with these techniques, specifically if you're the type to think things through. You don't want to just scratch the surface. You want to get to something that's solid at the bottom. You also are the type to aim to do the right thing. Compromises are not what you want. You want everybody to have a win from something, and you want to do the right thing. You also are the type that wants to surpass, or you're at a time in your life when you're ready to surpass your own natural tendencies. Not that you want to have a bad view of them, but you have to bring about your best game, and you're at that spot. Let's start with the first situation with Sarah. Sarah has too many things to do today. Like I said, she's sitting at her computer, and she's got all these things that are bubbling up, of things that she sees around the house, of things that she needs to do. And but it's okay. She's been here before, and she knows the trick for her is to take a complete inventory of all that she's thinking about, so that she can do something with them. So she starts with a to-do list format. To do today, I'm going to pick up the kids. I'm going to write an article. We're going to work on a presentation. Those are all things going through her head. Clean the deck. Prepare for the rest of the summer. We've got a few good weekends coming up. Hopefully the summer is going to be hotter for the rest of the few weeks we've got. And also back to school is coming imminently. And at this point, she knows that she can't do it all, and those are all things that she can go do. She knows that there is one trick that makes it really crystal clear what she needs to do. And that trick is to say the following: I'm going to pretend I'm at the end of the day, and I'm celebrating having had a kick-ass day. So what is it that I'm celebrating? So again, I'm pretending as though I'm at the end of the day. I'm still at this computer here, and I'm having a great outlook back on the day, saying, this was such a good day. I'm celebrating having done what exactly? And as opposed to what is it that I'm not celebrating having done? Now what she does is she transforms her to-do list with the following. She says, instead of to do today, she rewrites that a statement. The heading will be different. It'll be saying, by the end of the day, I'll have, and that forces her to change the verb. You know, she can't, that sentence is started, now she's got to correct it, make it right. By the end of the day, I'll have picked up the kids, written an article. She changes the tense of the verb to a past participle, which is basically the trick. And when you do that, you force yourself, that whole list cannot be true all at once. That change in language is something that forces you to make decisions, because that list can't be true, and you want that list to be true. So the first question she says is, I'm at the end of the day, I'm celebrating having had done one of those things at the expense of all the other things. What is it that I'm celebrating most, having completely done? Picking up the kids? Yeah, but, you know, written an article. Oh yeah, I'll have written an article. That feels good. And that change of perspective from the end of the day was all that was needed. And then so she switches them. Now, the rest of the list, is it in the right order? Who cares? Like, is there anything that I can delay until tomorrow? The question is yes. Clean the deck, worked on the presentation, that can all wait. So she puts a new heading in, can wait till tomorrow, and then she can hide that list, remove it, and just have this to concentrate on. She can stop here. She's got her focus for the day. But she knows she can go further with this because she's done this exercise before. She can go further with this language tweaking stuff. And the reward she'll be able to get is to solve the next problem, is that these two things are not connected. You know, picking up the kids and writing an article, they don't feed into each other, they sort of compete. It's not big, you know, but when you've got a list that's bigger and you've got 4 or 5 different disjointed things, it doesn't feel right. She knows that if she goes it further, she'll get something that is connected together, and you'll see what I mean. So first, let's talk about this picked up the kids thing. I'll have picked up the kids. And why is it that I'll be celebrating having picked up the kids? You know, that's nothing to celebrate. But I'm picking up the kids because I want to make sure that they're okay. So she switches it back up and puts it under making sure that I'll have made sure that my kids are okay. By the end of the day, I'll have made sure my kids are okay. That's a true statement. That is true. I want that to be a true statement. And to do that, I'll do a bunch of things. But picking up the kids is the one thing that I'm putting on my list now. But I'll be doing, I don't need to write all those other things. I know what they are. But that change in perspective and that change in language just makes it, yes, this is a true list. It's a true list. But more than that, she won't just pick up the kids. She'll go to pick them up and she'll have a talk with them. She'll chat with them. And so for her, in order to make sure that they're good, they're okay, she'll have connected with her kids. And to do that, she'll pick them up. And so already, picking up the kids is about connecting with her kids, and that is about making sure that they're okay. And that is really at the top. If she writes an article and she doesn't connect with her kids and she doesn't make sure they're okay, she blew the day. I mean, she didn't do the right thing. You see what I mean? Going to the bottom of things. Now, written an article seems to be also disjointed, but all of a sudden it isn't, because written an article could be fitting under that one term. I'll have made sure my kids are okay, and to do that, I'll have advanced on my business. And to do that, I'll have written an article. Already, she's doing a single thing that day. The whole theme of the day is having made sure that my kids are good. To do that, I'll have connected with my kids, and I'll have advanced on my business. And to do that, I'll have written an article and pick them up. So that, right now, she knows this is a coherent day, and I've got 2 things that are done. Now, they're not in sequence, but they're in order of importance for sure. Written an article fits with my kids. It fits with my kids. Let's look at written an article. That statement, is that true? Am I going to really publish an article today? Well, no, but I can say, just to be precise and feel good about my list and my intentions, I'll have written a first draft of the article, and as a stretch goal, I'll have written maybe a second draft of it. Yeah, that works well. That's in order, and that works well. This idea is what I call half-done lists. It's a language. It's something I also call the language of objectives. The language forces you to change your perspective and think things differently. You ask yourself questions like, what will I be celebrating at the end of the day? Or, and then you put a heading, and then you could be different timelines. What will I be celebrating by the end of the day, by the end of the week, by the end of the summer, by the end of the year? I'll have ... And you can have more than one list. And you just write statements in them, clarifying your intention. These lists are, funny enough, the verb tense that we use here is actually called future perfect tense. You're imagining a perfect future, and you're going to it. That forces you to change your perspective from not here outward, but from the over there situation backwards. And by doing that, you're forced to write statements that are going to be true. They want to be corrected, those statements. They want to be rewritten so that the list is true. And by doing that, you have to identify what's the bare minimum I'll be doing and what can I delay until later. This could wait until after tomorrow or after my presentation on Thursday noon, or that can wait until after I finish that project. You'll notice, if you've read the book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, you'll notice that there's a theme here in that it uses some habits from the book. Beginning with the end in mind is the one habit that that book talks about, that this is modeled after. But also, first things first. You identify what is core, and you do it. Not necessarily in sequence, but you ensure that that thing will have been done. And you do the first things first. And those two techniques were always there. I was using Getting Things Done system when I read about this book and the habits, and I just thought, this is so much better than Getting Things Done, but I don't have any tools to do that. And so I said, the heck with it, I'm just going to use a software, and the software that I was using in these examples is called Task Paper. It lets me reorder items and indent them, and that's all I needed. That's all I needed, reorder and indent. Write statements that forces me, at that point, it forces me to be honest with myself. That language just, it begs to be rewritten, to be honest with yourself and be intentional. So that's what have done lists are all about. So that was Sarah. She ended the day having written the first draft of her article. She picked up her kids. She had ideas about how to rewrite her article while she was with her kids. She talked about her article with her kids, and they pointed some good things. And right after, she penned down a few other things, and she had her second draft done right before supper. And that was a fantastic day. She was like, man, did I nail it. Let's move to Dan. Dan is not able to get any work done. And he has that idea, my supervisor won't accept the idea that I have. I know he's realizing that now what he has to do is he has to write a list. He also knows about have-done lists. Now what he's doing is not before the end of the day. Now what he's doing is he knows he's going to have a talk with his supervisor. It's going to happen. And so he writes a list. Before the end of my talk with my supervisor, I'll have and she'll have. And so it forces him to have empathy for her all of a sudden just by writing that language down. And it's not just about me, it's about her as well. We have talk and it's about two people. Before the end of the talk, I'll have obtain her approval. That was what I want. And what will she have? She'll have obtained somebody who's on her side. It's not just about my agenda, it's about her as well. Obtaining her approval, no, I can't guarantee that though. So have-done lists force you to realize what it is that you can't guarantee. That's out of your hands. But you can still do something about that. You can still change and make that situation better. So instead, I'll have obtained her approval, and maybe what I'll also have done is I'll have obtained a better idea of what she's going through at that meeting. And in the sense, obtained a better idea of what she's going through is actually in service. It's actually the way that I'll be obtaining her approval. But I can't really guarantee I'll have obtained her approval. I can say that I'll have advanced on obtaining, oh, that's the right language, that's the right statement. That is the most true statement I'll be able to say about that meeting. That makes sense. So you see, this idea of have-done lists is different than a to-do. There's a lot of things that you can't do with a to-do. A to-do is about, yeah, I'll have a meeting. Yes, scratch that off my list. But there's nothing about, it's tough to write in a to-do list the thing you'll have done at the end of the meeting, your approach for the meeting. But have-done lists let you put things that describe the end point and things that are nebulous, but you just sort of know how you're going to get to it. For example, you can write statements like, I'll have listened to my boss. That's not an active thing you put on a to-do, I'll listen. But I'll have listened. And listening is, you know that listening is, there's a difference between passive listening and active listening. Active listening, you do reformulation, you put yourself in the shoes of the other person, you have empathy and everything. But you can use language like, I'll have listened, and you know exactly what kind of posture you need to be in the meeting. And so this kind of language changes your posture from having an agenda to creating the environment in your mind first and also around you for something to happen. For example, with my kids, I realized that I could have done this to be able to say, I'll have obtained authority over them, meaning that they'll give me the authority to teach them. Not because I'll have forced it, but before that, I'll have created an environment where they seek my teaching. Those are just words, but those words change my posture. And then after that, my kid changed the way I interacted with my kids. And now, for example, my 5-year-old, which is really raucous these days, he wants me to teach him. Like, it's just amazing. This language stuff does work. Back to Dan. Before the end of the talk, she'll have. Then he realizes, I'm probably going to make this work. It's probably going to work. I know I have the right mindset. I'm going to listen to her. She's probably going to say yes. I got to get ready for a yes. I wasn't ready for a yes. Now, what do I have to do? Then she's going to say yes, and then she's going to say, what are you going to do? And so before the meeting, he writes another list. Before the meeting, I'll have prepared for a yes, and to do that, I'll have prepared a plan for the next 2 weeks. So this is urgent. I've got to do this. And now he's realizing, okay, well, let's imagine what 2 weeks after the meeting looks like. Before 2 weeks after the meeting, I'll have put in place one of my recommendations, and I'll have produced something with the new approach. And she'll have obtained an increase in productivity. Yeah. Well, actually, maybe not an increase in productivity, but at least she'll have obtained a match in productivity. On the way to have an increase in productivity. And that's what she'll be able to get. And with that plan, she'll say yes. I mean, right? Now, there's still the problem of my idea won't be accepted by my supervisor, which hints at something else. Maybe I'm spending all of its time with something that may be false. Maybe I won't get any resistance. So let's put that aside for a bit, and let's talk about leadership. There's a book by Bill Joyner called Leadership Agility. And in the book, he advocates that there are different levels at which leaders operate. And leaders operate at these levels depending on their expertise. But they hit a developmental ceiling. They can't get any further than that in their leadership and their management skills and their ability to make things work in their team. They operate at what the author calls heroic stages. Heroic meaning that it's about that person heroically coming in and doing something about the problem. Much like Dan saying, I'm going to change their processes. It's about the ego. These stages, these states of mind are led by the ego. Now, there are some leaders who have surpassed the developmental ceiling and that they're able to do things that we know, like we see that they're able to manifest such, at the same time, they're a bit like paradoxes. At the same time, they're deeply, they know they know their stuff, but they're also great leaders. They are really considerate. At the same time, they get things done. They're a bit like paradoxes. And these people operate at other levels that are called, what he calls, the author, post-heroic stages. And those stages are led by, not the ego, but those leaders are led by their best self. Their best self is sort of like overseeing the work of the ego, saying, thank you, ego, I know you're there. Thank you, I won't need you from this point on. The way they're able to surpass themselves, and it's not like they always operate, sometimes they dip below and then they get back up. But they've crossed that chasm because they have been able to identify their mental models of things in their minds. let's look at what those mental models look like. Mental models are a bit like lenses, colored lenses that are in your mind. They change how you perceive things, because the way the brain works is that you've got data coming in, and then it takes the data and associates it with a bunch of other things, including the conclusions that we've made about that. Oh yeah, that's an apple. I know an apple. I've seen an apple before. I've seen tons of apples. And it reinforces conclusions. It's really hard to reverse that trend, but it's possible. And what are those things, those colored lenses? Those colored lenses are convictions, pre-made conclusions, interpretations, a bias towards something. You've got a bias toward the right, the left. Any kind of judgment, prejudices, deep-rooted stuff. Associations. This apple is just like the other apple I've had. Labels. This person is just a developer. I mean, he's not a leader. You know, the is a mental model. Or oppositions, which are really small mental models, really compact opposition. It's either this or that. And the mental model is just the or mental model. It's just such a small word, two-letter word, that creates conflicts. It's either this or that. Well, what if it's an and? What if both those things are true at the same time? So, all these lenses are there, but once you look at the lens and you see that it's there, those mental models go away. You basically, just by knowing that, oh, I've got a mental model right there, it just dissipates. You know that you have mental models when you're feeling angry, or you're feeling just conflicted. So I'm feeling conflicted. What is it that I'm so convinced of? You ask yourself that question. And then you realize, that's interesting. That's interesting. I must be in a mental model. I must be fused with it. Me and my idea are fused together. Can you create some distance between the two things? You'll realize that you're in a mental model when you have words in your subconscious and the tape that goes into your head, like, unless I mean, it's like there's a struggle. I am or he is a. It's either this or that, or surely, ... Those are signs that you probably have a mental model at play. So let's come back to Dan. Dan did all this work, took him 5-10 minutes. He's used to making these lists. But now he's asking himself, what is it that I'm thinking? What is it that I'm so certain about? So he hides those lists and creates a new one, mental models, : I'm so certain that my boss will say no. And this is the key word. Like, you can use a word, and you can respond to yourself. You write the thing that's in your mind, and then you invent a new person, you invent a new Pascal to answer yourself. My boss will say no. Maybe. Maybe she will, maybe she won't. That word maybe takes the edge off. I've got another mental model. And so he's like all excited. He's making an inventory. He likes to make inventories. He makes an inventory of his mental models. If she says yes, I'll be unprepared. Yeah. Or you can rewrite it to, in the positive sense, if I'm prepared, she has a better odds of saying yes. Yeah, that's a good mental model. So he took the worrying mental model he had, he removed it, he replaced it with another one. If I'm prepared, she has better odds. So he's rewriting his thoughts. Unless we change how we do things, things will get worse. This is the core one, right? This is the core one that took him, like that that bugged him all this last week and that is occupying his thoughts this morning. But in this case, with distance, he's thinking, you know what, that's probably true. And I'm betting that my boss knows that it's coming to. And I'm betting she's actually, the way she's acting, it's probably because she wants to talk to me about it. She doesn't know how. And so she'll be really glad that I bring it up. And she'll even be gladder that that I'll have something of a solution for it. He has that meeting. It goes super well. At the end, she was so happy that she was able to voice those thoughts. And she excuses for herself for having been a bit like tense, but it was because of that problem that she was sensing. She didn't really know how to do it. She herself too had mental models that were at play, and he came prepared, and it worked well. Sylvie, she's in a meeting, so she's not at her computer, but she's really good at this stuff, so we'll go really quickly, as if it's all in her mind. So she's making that dialogue in her mind on the spot. So to recall, 3 other people, one of the people is across the room, is probably mounting an anxiety and probably going to do something like strong personality, taking over the meeting and saying something brash, but she's realizing, okay, got to do something about that. But first, I got to clean my mental models. So first, my mental models, unless I do something, that person's going to take over. Yeah, that's probably true. If I get up and I do something, it's going to be seen as reacting to the other person. No, that might not be true. That may be true. We don't really know. What else is going on? If I have the right posture, that's going to calm everybody down. Yeah, that's actually true. That's actually a good mental model to have. Okay, good. Let's wipe that. Now, let's say I'm in a meeting. By the end of the meeting, each person will have, including that person across the room will have. So let's talk about each person in the room. They'll have obtained a good listening from each other. They'll have felt as though we'll all have a meeting that was worth our time. And they'll have contributed something. That's what they'll obtain from it. Yes. Contributed something, maybe they won't have contributed something, but have had a feeling that they'll have contributed something to the cause we're here to solve. Yeah, that's what they will have. Okay, quickly, what will I have? I'll have obtained a frank discussion. I'll have obtained a winning partnership, so long as I get a feeling that it's good for the cause. So far, so good. But obtain a frank discussion is probably in service of obtaining a winning partnership. That's true. And to have obtained a frank discussion, I'll have talked openly and with vulnerability about what I'm sensing in the room. And after that, I'll have proposed a way forward. Oh, mental model coming up. If I propose when I'm about to propose, they're going to say no, or they're going to probably have anxiety. Maybe they will. I'm going to give it a shot anyways. So she comes back to this, and what's my way forward? I'm going to propose a visualization exercise. Yeah, okay, let's do it. So she takes the stage, basically. She says, I'm sensing that there's discomfort. And maybe it feels like not everybody feels as though they can speak their mind. So who wants to talk first? I want to hear what your state of mind is. And they talk a bit, and she says, thank you so much. I also felt that anxiety in the room. It was important for me that everybody could feel, we could just get the edge off and speak their minds. How about we do 5-10 minutes, and we'll just picture a winning partnership. We'll do a visualization exercise, and we'll put statements on the board, and we'll pretend as though we're 2 months after the partnership. That cause was a success. What is it we'll be able to say we'll have done in those 2 months? They get super good language out. They rewrite it on the board. And they said, yes, that is exactly what we want out of this. And it's going to be great. Meeting's over. Everybody nods, including that strong personality type across the room. Good job. And one of the participants comes, and she says, whew, I've been to a lot of these kinds of meetings, and it's so easy. Like I was sensing the other person was going to take over, and it was just going to take the partnership and take it all the way down. It wasn't going to be really constructive. I've been through this before. But the way you've done it was so great. I'm so happy you were able to allow us to speak our minds. It got the edge off. This was one of the greatest meetings I've been at in a long time. Thank you so much for putting this thing together. I can't wait to start. Sylvie, that was her first time doing this partnership thing. But she was used to having this mental reprogramming technique. And so it allowed her to take that here situation to the over there really quickly. But more importantly, it accelerated her to become an expert in something she had not been an expert in, just because she's visualized it. And also, it allowed her to be really quick at being deeply useful, serving the situation in front of her. She went from being in an impasse to going to a level she didn't even think was possible. Those situations I talked about today are pretty banal. They're small. They're also very concrete. But once you get really good at those things, you'll notice that you can tackle some bigger ones. You'll be able to say, you'll have mastered your circle of influence and you'll be able to take on bigger ones. And we all know the size of the problems we have, right? It doesn't mean that you'll be able to attack big problems. You probably need education. You probably need to go change your career prospects and liberate yourself from a lot of things you need to be doing before you can tackle those things. But what I'm saying is that you can still write a list, make a new list, and say, before I can say that I'll be able to create my own company, go with this full time, before I can say that I'll have ... I'll have, and you write that list. You're probably going to have some elements that are common in that list. You're probably going to have some big headings, like made sure the people around me are okay. I can't start this new gig before I can say that my parents are okay, or my sister is okay. Once you make that realization, you realize, that's important. I'm probably not going to get to this thing, but it's true. The statements are true. They are true. I need to make sure that my parents are okay, that my sister is okay, that my kids are okay. But then, things will just happen. Just because you had that preparation, those things are going to be fine. They're going to solve themselves. And those people that are around you are going to corral around you to help you to that next stage. It happened to me. So, this language-based technique to rewire your brain using the language of objectives, mental models, is stuff that I really liked. I really enjoyed working with in the past 10 years for Have Done lists and 7 for mental models. It's been a huge help for me. I hope it is for you too. So my name is Pascal Liberté. You can find out more about these things, these ideas on my website. And yeah, that's it. Thanks for coming.